what is it like dating in the Army?
The freakiness level increases with rank.
So how do you define freakiness level? What is that based on?
What they put inside their body and have to end up in the ER because they can't remove it type of stuff.
Wait, hold on. So what are they putting inside themselves? Like, give me, what's the most outrageous item?
Animals. Animals.
Are these
these kind of animals? Oh, I got stories for you. I got stories.
Well, I can't even breathe. Hold on. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Introspect Club, a club where you can learn a lot about yourself through conversations with other people. My name is Jeff Damisse, and I'll be your host. Welcome back, everyone. We have an interesting show for you today. We are going to be discussing what it's like to be an Army wife. Okay. The reason why this is fascinating is there's a lot of attention on the armed forces, people who protect us, people who represent us in other countries, but no one really talks enough about what their families go through, what their kids go through, as well as what that dynamic is like when you are actually traveling with your partner who is part of the Army or the armed forces. So I want to dig into this story because the person I'm bringing on is legitimately a very good friend of mine. We actually went to high school together. So those who are following me who went to high school with me will recognize her face. But I want to introduce a very good friend of mine, Tamika Gillette. What's up, love? How you doing?
Hey.
How are you?
Doing good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. It's been a while. We haven't seen each other in how long? When was the last time you think you saw me?
I don't remember.
Exactly. A lifetime. Okay. So I want you to give everyone a quick introduction of who you are and a little bit of what we can expect from your story.
All right. So I am a military spouse. We're here stationed overseas. It's called Okonus in South Korea. And I'm also an Army veteran, so I experienced both sides. But right now, we're just kicking it over here overseas.
So you are an Army spouse, as you described, right? So, and you also said you are a veteran as well. Is that how you met your current husband?
Yeah.
So walk me through what that was like. So when you say you're a veteran, in what force?
Army.
You're in the Army for how long?
Almost 7 years.
7 years. Like, were you like active duty?
Yeah.
Wow. Was he like in like your platoon or whatever? I don't know what it's called. Am I saying the right words?
Company. We're in the same company.
So you guys were in the same company?
Yeah. Well, we were stationed in the same company.
Okay. So what is it like dating in the Army?
Ooh, you're trying to get juicy.
Jolsie?
You're trying to get juicy. It's a lot of hoe activity.
What is that? Whoa. Oh, God. What is that? What does that even mean? What?
You should have picked the sound.
Okay, I gotta add that in. Hold on. Wait a second. Wait. So what do you mean a lot of hoe activity in the Army? What does that mean?
So I would compare it to if you're in a dorm, the activity that happens there. So when you're a single soldier, you live in, they call them barracks. So it's buildings, skyrise buildings or whatever, that everybody lives in various locations, different Army bases. So when you're not working, you doing some whole activity.
Yeah, but but what is it about like that specific environment? Now I know, like, okay, in college when you're in dorm rooms and so on and so forth, but we're talking about full-blown adults, right? So I would assume that in college a lot of that was because a lot of people are young, they're immature, they're doing things that, you know, they're just exploring, right? Now you're in the Army, you have all this discipline that's being embedded in you. So why is it that people are a little bit more, I would imagine, promiscuous in the Army?
Yes. So think of it this way. You're saying older, but when people join the military, they're college age.
Oh.
So, and then you come out of basic training for weeks, and you've been integrated in this complete different lifestyle.
Yeah.
You want to get your itch fixed. So, I mean, when I finished basic training, I was having it up. It was a fun time.
Okay.
And so that's what goes on now. Add in if you're deployed or you're overseas, and the percentage of interaction that you have with people, you are mostly with people you work with.
Oh.
So people that are deployed like to Afghanistan or whatever, if they're married.
What happened?
you just know that your significant other is going to be doing some stuff.
So wait, so
it's well known.
So you're telling me it's well known that there's a lot of infidelity in the Army?
Oh, hell yes. It's ridiculous.
But is it?
It is ridiculous. We have high ranking. Oh, and then the level. So when I was an operating room technician. So I'm working with more educated people. You have to have a GT score, or you take a test to know what kind of job you're going to get. So I'm working with doctors, nurses, operating room, surgery personnel.
Yeah, yeah.
So you get into that level, and the higher it seems that they're educated, the more crazy stuff that they do.
You're saying that regardless of the ranking, there's a lot of promiscuity going on in the Army, and it's even worse at higher ranking officials or for higher ranking officials, right?
I'm saying the freakiness level increases with rank.
So how do you define freakiness level? What is that based on?
Like what they put inside their body and have to end up in the ER because they can't remove it type of stuff.
Wait,
what? Can we get another?
Wait, hold on. So what are they putting inside themselves? Like, what's the most outrageous item?
Animals. Animals.
Are these
these kind of animals? Oh, I got stories for you. I got stories.
Well, I can't even breathe. Hold on. You're telling me high-ranking Army or military personnel are stuffing live animals inside their orifices? Are you referring to men? Are you referring to women? Or both?
Men.
Men are stuffing live animals inside their orifices in the Army, and they're ending up in the ER.
Because they can't come out.
Why?
I don't know.
I know, but I'm just trying to figure out. So is there like a lot more homosexuality, or is it just even straight men, or is it like what's the?
That's a whole nother story. So I've had fellow, that we call them battle buddies, your fellow soldier friends.
Okay.
And that are homosexual.
Okay.
And they would tell me straight out that even the married men will dip into the pool when they are supposedly hanging out with their male friends.
Wow.
But they have children. Mm-hmm. They have children. And so there's a lot of on the down low activity. So you name it, it's done. So just put it into perspective. 50%, about 50% of the active duty are married.
Yes.
So about 90% are married to women.
Okay.
So just put that into perspective of the volume of on the download that could be happening.
So, okay. And this is with men, or is this men and women?
That's both.
So
it depends on its geographical location.
So have you ever been pressed by a woman in the Army who was, I guess, on the low homosexual? Or
okay, so on the low happens with the men mostly.
Okay. The women are more upfront about it.
In recent years, there has been an increase on that group entering the military or
Sure.
being out in the open.
Got it.
Especially in the last 3 years. But
Got it.
before that, you were told not to talk about your sexuality. And especially, if you think of active duty, you think, oh, this is a machismo. This is, somebody that,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
they really wouldn't talk about it unless they out drinking. And I guess they have a random exploration that they need to get fulfilled or something.
Really?
But when they're deployed overseas, you in the past generally don't entertain that kind of thing. You will go and explore women that are not your normal because you don't have options. So in the States, in the States, oh no, that's even a butterface. You don't really mess with that.
Yeah.
But when you're deployed,
they're less selective. Yeah, but I'm going to say something kind of like wild, probably blasphemous. Do you feel like a lot of the men who explore their sexuality into, like, let's say homosexuality in the Army or in places like that, because of their lack of options, kind of like when there's the stories about when people who go to jail, right? And guys end up getting with each other or having sex with each other. But some people say, okay, those guys were on the low, or is it because they're so deprived that they're resorting to having sex with other men or stuffing live animals up their orifices? Is that because of like the deprivation of sex in the Army, or that's just things that they were always into?
Not in the States. In the States, they got their options just like anybody does.
Yeah.
They just, from what I've been told, they're just curious. They're not the from what I've been told is they are not on the receiving end. They are in the they get in the head. That's what it is.
They're getting hit. What? Oh, they're getting.
Yes.
Oh, they're getting head.
Yes.
Yeah, but they're getting head from someone who was also on the down low.
No, from a full game.
Oh, I got you. So there are men who are fully out in the open, homosexuals, who are slobbing on guys that were particularly on the down low, who weren't open and honest about their desire for that. You're saying.
Yes.
Interesting. But what about for the women? Like, women, they're deprived too, or is that like a different experience?
Majority of them, I would say, are single, and they just everybody knows, like in a company, who is just going to give it up.
What are the signs of a type of woman in the Army that's just going to give it up?
Well, usually you all hang out together, so
by what?
Action, like you're out drinking or whatever. So this is from my single days. You're out drinking and they just gonna handle their business and take care of what they gotta take care of.
What does that mean? They just go up to random guys, or the women go up to random women? What do they do, and what do they say?
When you're just kicking it and you just go up, you start dancing on the person or grabbing on them, whatever,
Yeah.
That's what you gotta do. It's the same process. Unfortunately, if the married soldier is there, he usually takes what she's given. So
is there an understanding by like military spouses that their significant other who's in active duty is going to be promiscuous? And no, that's not an understanding given how high of a rate that is.
They do not. Mm-mm. So again, about 90% are women. They're not interacting with the soldiers. A soldier will spend more than the regular amount, like you and me. Yeah. Our daily job is 9 to 5 or whatever.
Sure.
Soldiers, they can be at work 24/7, sometimes weeks at a time, months at a time, or years at a time.
Yeah.
So the women are not engaged in their life. So they're not aware. They don't know what's going on. But inside of the group of soldiers, they know what's going on.
Wow.
In fact, it's a division, really.
So let me ask, in your single days, did you ever have any romantic engagement with a married soldier?
We're not going to talk about all that. We're not going to talk about that.
Listen, I had to ask because it seemed like it was a very open thing that was happening in a known thing. So that might have been the culture, right? So that's why I'm asking the question if it was like an acceptable culture even within your company. So
yeah, but so yes, everybody knows about it. Yeah. But if you have the snitch of the day and they bring it up to the work atmosphere, not outside the work atmosphere, like in that sense, I'll say you're at your cubicle. Okay. Your cubicle is your work atmosphere, but the lunchroom is not, it's the gossip area, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So while you're working, you have the two separate entities, but if you were to take what was happening in the break room or off hours into the cubicle area, you could get in severe trouble.
Got it.
So, yeah. So there's supposed to be a division also, an additional.
What do you mean?
With the high-ranking
officers,
sergeant or officers who are overseeing the younger or lesser rank. Okay. So if somebody were to bring that information to them, you could get your money gone. You'd be doing slave duty. You could, depending on how bad or severe it is, you could even get kicked out and then lose your benefits. So,
that's wild because it's almost like it's culturally expected to happen, but on the hush hush. As long as nobody talks about it, then people are going to be extremely promiscuous in the Army, and no one's going to back.
It's political.
Yeah,
it's political. So all the military is a big political scene, right?
Okay.
We have to, or think of it like your church child. when they're at church, they need to be this way, oh, hallelujah, holla back. But when they're out and they're kicking it with their friends, who's the most wildest of the group?
The most like deprived person of like social norms. Yeah, I can see that. See that. But like, has there ever been anyone who, because you're saying it's political, has there ever been anyone in the Army that became promiscuous in order to gain better rank?
That doesn't really happen, but what will happen is they will get married to friends or whatever to get money.
What does that mean?
So if you're married, you get housing allowance, you get extra benefits to pay for you to not live on the military facility.
What?
So, yeah. But on the same side, if someone is doing that, it's illegal. If they get caught or told on, then they'll get all that money taken back. You have to pay for it. And the levels that you can get in trouble is extreme.
Wait, you're saying if someone gets caught like in a fake marriage in the Army, has that happened?
Of course. There wouldn't be laws in place if it didn't happen.
So you witnessed this happen, like people got into a fake marriage in the Army for financial benefits. Wow. Wait, so, and these are people who are marrying each other while in the Army. What's a wedding in the Army look like? Are they shooting guns in the air at the end of it? Like, what are we talking about?
Not Texas. No, you just go to the court and sign your paperwork and you're done.
So is that what happened to you? I mean, how did you meet your husband?
Worked together, just enjoyed each other's company.
Okay.
And one thing after another.
So you got married while being in the Army?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So how long you been with your husband?
Ooh. Like 13 years.
13 years. Okay. You've been with your husband for 13 years. He's an active duty. What's his rank?
First sergeant.
Okay. So you are married to a first sergeant in the Army. What is the biggest challenge you face as a military spouse while being married to your husband who is first sergeant rank in the Army?
So it depends on the location.
Okay.
It depends on their job. It depends on their location, and the position of their job.
Okay.
So, I mean about that is, so like we're here in South Korea. This has been the hardest place we've been.
Okay.
And that's because no one prepares you. So I fall into military spouse and veteran of the lesser than 10% category.
What does that mean?
I have my 2 master's degrees.
Beautiful.
I have education and experience. But because of the competition level in the area, they don't care. They want their friends. They want people that they used to be with while active duty,
right,
of 20 plus years.
Right.
They want the older about to retire a second time to have these positions.
Yeah.
So on top of that variable, you have different locations. So are you familiar with Seoul in South Korea? Like the K-pop stars are all from there, whatever.
I think so. Yeah.
So they are closing that base.
Okay.
There's hardly anybody there. So they're moving everybody to the south. So they create a larger base. It's called, I'm not supposed to give the names and stuff. So they have that larger base, and then they have these little tiny bases are scattered around.
Yeah.
I fall into the little tiny bases.
Okay.
So you're taking the job opportunity from here to
next to nothing.
that. Yeah.
And you say job opportunity for you as a spouse or for your, so you have to like apply for jobs as a spouse when you're already an Army veteran / spouse?
Yes.
I don't understand. Like if you're a veteran and you're married to an Army personnel, don't they just give you a gun and say you are a hired Army? I don't know how it works. Like I'm so ignorant to this. Like,
no.
Okay. What's a typical job for an Army wife that is on base?
At this location, this area, they're looking, the greatest spouses that are hired are teachers and of the medical profession.
Okay.
So those two categories, they're always hiring.
Got it.
But I've heard like people tell me, well, why don't you just work as a teacher? Look, let me tell you something. I worked too hard to be where I'm at, to be with no little kids that they talk to me some I'm liable. Well, some of this action was for me to say something. So no, I can't. I cannot.
Are you saying that your I guess your temperament or how you live your life is a lot more aggressive compared to an average teacher?
So think of the variable of being a teacher for the military community who dwells on politics. At a regular school, you have your law, you have your ways that you're supposed to carry yourself.
Sure.
But the level of being a teacher on a military facility is even greater.
Okay.
Because you're dealing with ranks. You're dealing with people that can get you fired like that. You're dealing with so many extra things. You're dealing with to us foreigners, but we're in their country.
Yeah.
So there's so much more. So you have to be on your nicest behavior, no matter how you're feeling on a certain particular day with a certain student. So no.
So there's a lot of politics and red tape and nuance that is
cover up and
wow. So what have you managed to do as a military? Because you said you're a veteran. So how long ago were you in active duty?
I got out 2011.
You got out because of what?
Oh, they messed up my back really bad.
Who's they and how?
Active duty doctors. So what happened is with my daughter, I was in childbirth. So nobody tells you how to prepare for it or anything like that. You go to the hospital and they shoot some medicine and drugs up to hurry up and escalate the birthing process.
Oh, wow.
And so that causes unnatural levels of pain to occur.
Wow.
So then you got all this occurring, then they shoot the, epidural up your spine to then numb you. Unfortunately, in my case, they shot the epidural up 3 times within the span of 28 hours.
Okay.
And I was finally numb on the 27th hour, but partially. So one side I have complete pain, unnatural pain, and the other side I'm numb. So
that's a weird feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was in the worst pain of my life for like a year after that. And they just got me out of the military on top of the other health issues that, all the physical activity you have to do, the lifting and rock marches, all that. So.
Is it was most of your physical activity during training, or did you have a lot of active duty combat scenarios?
I never went to combat. My battle buddies did, but I was medical. So they you put in paperwork to see if you wanted to get deployed at that time. And then they would pick. So I never went. I was just at the hospital, or what you call a cache. Like, you are preparing to go to war.
Yeah.
So that's what I did.
Jesus. So now, are there like repercussions towards the Army for like messing up your back? Do they pay,
they're paying me.
Oh, they paying me, boo boo. So you were able to like gain resources from, I guess, how they treated you like during the birthing process, or just throughout the whole, training and active duty type of experience. So that's good. But what impact did that have on you psychologically? Because, I've heard that a lot of people who are in active duty, when they're removed from it, they have like this withdrawal of like being part of the action. Right? Did you experience any of that?
Look, I'm not made for military life.
Okay.
As a soldier.
Okay.
Once I got my vacation to get out, I went and dyed my hair red, and I got my nails did. And because think of my mindset. Well, okay, I was what you call a military brat. So I grew up, besides Florida, in the military. My dad was active duty for 20 years.
Got it.
So I was used to that. But as a soldier, at that time, they have changed laws. You can't have your nails colored. You can't have colored hair. You can't wear, beautiful makeup. You can't be feminine.
Got it.
So things have changed. Like they can wear ponytails and dye their hair now. But when I was in, no, you had to have ironed and pressed and very, very disciplined. So I was ready to get out completely. I will say on the professional aspect, it's different. And that's where I do have a harder time with, because I am very data oriented. I'm very strategic on how I develop things or understand things. But that also stems from my what I did growing up. So I was a dance major. Again, I have to be strategic. I have to know the steps and be very specific on what I'm doing. And so I did that. I was a part of a ballet company and all of that. So those two in combination, you have this very particular mindset, which has helped me in the professional world. But when you're dealing with the difference, you have to be more patient. You have to be more understanding of feelings. You have to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but in which scenario are you having to be more understanding? Which scenario?
Like if I have a job that I need to get done in the military, do this now. We need to get it done. These are my steps. And if you're not doing it, I will find somebody else and it's time for you to go. Not in the federal or military world. You have to be more understanding that they have different learning criterias. I might be a visual learner and you may not. So I have to adapt my personality to these people I'm working with. I can't just tell them what to do.
Wow.
So that's where I have my hardships.
So, I mean, that's definitely a challenge. And now you're saying it's hard for you to find, work opportunities that are, I guess, extensive or fruitful in a very competitive world where there's lack of options by traveling as a military spouse, right?
Oh yeah.
So go ahead.
So that's what I dealt with in the past few months. It was extremely depressing. You don't have people to interact with. And if you're outside of the States, particularly in Asia, where they do not speak English unless you're in a very populated area where they teach them English, like in Seoul, it's extremely difficult. They do not want you. And the military does not prepare you for that. So think about it this way. Every 2 to 3 years, the military family is moving to a different location.
Wow.
What does an employer want? Do they want someone that they are aware that they're going to lose them at that job role within 2 years?
Yeah.
So even in the States, the percentage of military spouses that are hired is under 30%.
Because of that reason, that you guys are going to move like at some point.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. So for entry level or lower ranking families, they don't really care. You know, they're not used to making a certain income. They're not expecting much out of a career plan or goal. So it's not so hard for them. But when you get into somebody like, for example, me, that is used to working, that's used to making money, that's used to buying whatever they want because they can, it deals with your psyche. It deals with so many different variables. So when you are lacking in those opportunities, do you find yourself spending more time with your kids? And that's where you get into the age group.
What does that mean?
My kids are all in school.
Yeah.
So for the past few months, I've been at home by myself.
Right.
I do utilize my time. So I got a whole bunch of certifications and all that, but it's hours. It's hours. They take the bus an hour to school and then an hour back. So that's more time not being at home. And then when they're older, they want to hang out with their friends or do activities or go on their, games or computers. So they're not looking to, talk it up except for a few minutes with the mom.
Yeah, what's interesting about that is, like, I would imagine they would latch on to you more given that you guys move around so much, right? So you guys are the only constant in their lives, right? So if you move every 2 or 3 years, doesn't that strip the kids away from their normalcy in any way? How does that affect them?
They don't have the normalcy that a non-military child has. So they are familiar with that lifestyle.
Yeah.
They will develop friendships, but they are aware that their friends, like, for example, this summer, all my kids have friends. Okay. But those friends already left or are leaving to their next duty station. Okay. So all of the children are aware that this friendship is not a lasting thing, but we're just going to enjoy the time that we have right now.
Interesting. So does that concern you when you guys are done with the military? Because it's not going to be for the rest of your life, right?
Oh, should be the last year. Hallelujah.
So, okay. So let's talk about that. So what would your life look like after leaving the military that you've been a part of for so long? You raised a family in the military. You met your husband in the military. You started your career in the military. You've gotten injured and now getting paid by the military based on your injuries. Once you're removed from that, is that going to be an uncomfortable transition? Do you even know what that looks like or what you're going to be looking to do with your life? Or?
Oh, I already have my next phase. My next chapter has already begun. Okay. So I'm working with a top 500 company. So I'm good.
Got it.
My husband, he should be chilling for however long until he's ready to get back in the force.
The force meaning workforce or armed forces?
Armed forces.
He's going to go back to the armed forces after...
No. He's done retirement, the first retirement.
Got it. But what about your kids? How do you think they're going to fare outside of the military?
My biggest concern
Yeah.
is I need to find a school that is mixed, has diversity.
Yeah.
So for example, when we were in San Antonio, they were going to a school that was predominantly Hispanic and white. And so she's, a little young Black girl, whatever. She got teased because of her hair texture, tight curls, 3B. And she would come home crying. And that was her going to a non-military school. So those are the kind of things that I am concerned about. Another example, so the area that we're moving to is predominantly Black or white. I did see a little sprinkle of mixed. So we're yellow bread or whatever. We're yellow bread.
Okay.
So I know, but before I went to School of Arts, especially in the Black community, I got teased. I got made fun of. Even as an adult,
really?
I get.
So everybody's clear, School of the Arts is an art school that her and I went to together. We're in the same class, and we graduated 2002, right? So, and that's the school she's referencing. So this is high school, the School of the Arts. But go on. So you said you were teased by I didn't know that.
Oh, yes. So not so much in our school, like it was a great school to go to. Like I would not do that ever again. Like I loved it. But outside of that community, and as an adult, it just seems like the darker Black you are, not from the island culture, like they are more integrated, but like Southern Black or mostly Southern Black will put you down for your skin color.
What will they say?
Oh, girl, you piss yellow. Why you look like that? Oh, why you talk like that? You think you a white girl? And don't let me dye my hair blonde.
Oh, no.
Oh, you a white girl? Why you got your name? Like just ignorant stuff. So, but then if you hang out with white people, and I found this in the military after I got out, especially, recent years, how much racism was being hidden from the white community as well.
Was being hidden? What do you mean?
That's why I got off Facebook. I could not take the stuff I was seeing from my comrades. It was disgusting.
This was in the military?
These are active duty. These were our veterans. These are people that are fighting for our country. So racist. So racist.
Give me an example of like a racist experience you've witnessed or you've experienced yourself while being in the military.
So before January 7th, and all the marches that our people were doing, and I thought it was beautiful, but unfortunately, in some instances, it did get violent.
Yeah.
And I won't talk about my opinion. That could be something else. But the things they were saying, oh, if they come in my neighborhood, I can't wait to shoot them. I got this gun, this gun, this gun.
Oh, wow.
Disgusting. The levels of, it was so bad that I would just shut down. I would break down in tears. I could not, because these are people I would hang out with. Yeah. So I'm mixed. So I would go out to, hang out with them at the country club, the bar, doing the hoop, scoop, and boogie in Texas.
Yeah.
Or I would, be working with them, telling stories and sharing experiences. Yeah. And you are aware what is really going on in their mind.
Wow.
And so
did that like make you fear what would happen to your kids if they ever got like mixed up in the wrong community after hearing stuff like that?
What to be fearful is to not be aware that people come from different historical backgrounds,
Okay.
right? So these are people that their parents, let's think about our parents, their generation.
Okay.
So my dad, he grew up in a segregated school. He
Okay.
did not go to a school where Black and white went to school together until late in high school.
Okay.
So these are the same people that are our age, whose parents experienced the same thing. So they grew up around the verbiage putting down the Black culture. These are the people that are defending our country, right? So back to politics, we are not allowed to speak objectively, or else fear of reprimand, fear of getting in trouble. Even to this day, you're not to do those things. But they go on social media and spill what's really going on. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's quite scary.
So what about your husband? Like, you're sharing a lot of your experience. What has your husband experienced that he shared with you or that you've witnessed that is along the lines of what you experienced, or something that's completely different for him as a man in the military compared to you as a wife in the military?
It's more so of things with his rank that he has to deal with. That's frustrating. With any leadership role, you are going to experience your frustrations, but it's more so with the newer generation. They have this level of, they are owed the best of the best experiences. But no, what you really want to say is, no, you here to work, okay?
Wait, so you're saying
So
new recruits in the military are what, entitled? They feel entitled?
Entitled, that's the word. Entitled. Oh my God.
Really?
It's disgusting.
What do they want? Give me an unreasonable ask that the, I guess, new recruits who are untitled are asking for in the Army.
Like, I want to move up rank. Why focus on PT or physical training?
Why focus on physical training? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? What are you there for? What is this? Gymnastics? What is this?
It's fun time.
What else? What else would they say or do?
Well, I can't really get into those kind of things because of politics.
So do you feel as though you feel less secure being around new recruits who are there supposedly to defend us and defend you in the line of combat? Do you feel less secure? Do you feel fearful of your life because of, like, I guess, how not serious they take the job?
I haven't thought about that, but I think it depends on the job.
Okay.
I think it depends on, because you do have your very cool people. You have your people that, for example, infantry,
Okay.
that they are so excited. Like in my last job, one of my coworkers, his son, brilliant, super intelligent, but he wanted to go to war. He wanted to have his weapons and fight and defend the country.
Yeah.
And he did it. And so you do have those people that, you know, they grew up playing the video games, Call of Duty, and they want to do all that.
That's so
It's
sad.
a bad example, but let's face it.
I don't think it's a bad example. I think those games low key are created to identify the next recruits to advertise to.
So yes, of course.
Yeah.
What is the military at the end of the day? It is still a business, right?
Yeah.
So every so many years, the marketing strategy is adjusted to meet the trends of the new recruits.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, wow.
So if you go back and you look at the past sayings, Army of One, for our generation, there's a whole bunch that they've changed. Now, recently, what has been the newest marketing strategy for the entitled youth. You are now able to change your color. You could have a bright red, bright orange hair color.
What?
You can have your nail. Yes, you can have your nails any color. Well, natural colors. You can wear a ponytail. Like you can have earrings. I don't know if they're allowed to do that when they are deployed to a real war environment, but when they're doing their daily jobs, they can do these things now. So again, it is a marketing strategy. They need, also think of it this way. We are at the lowest employment rate of active soldiers in historical times. Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that is?
I believe it began in the Obama phase is when it started. So they started making it stricter.
Stricter to get into, or stricter when you're in it?
Stricter while you're in. If you're not meeting criteria, you would get the boot.
Okay.
And they were trying to cut down on allocations for war, removing people from war and things like that.
Okay.
So at that time, that's when the numbers did start going down.
But is that because there's less people interested, or because they were removing people in droves?
Making the budget smaller is how it began.
Oh, wow.
But for the current phase, we're seeing a lot of things in the news, right? You're seeing things with rape being on the news. You're seeing soldiers going missing and getting killed. So I think, I mean, even recently, on the Shade Room recently, they had a female soldier who is now in jail, discussing how she wasn't being treated correctly, right? So those kind of factors.
She's now in jail?
Yes.
For speaking about it?
Yes.
Can they do that?
Yeah. You are property. You are a number when you are active.
What? I mean, I get that, but she was able to get on the show, but she wasn't able to speak on any form of abuse going on. Okay. That's a little disheartening. So I want to talk about your husband for a second, or just what it's like to be married in the community of the military forces. What has happened in the military while being married that has tested your marriage the most?
Hours. So, for political reasons, they do say, like, they make a month for spouses, then they make a month for celebrating the military child. That's all to look good. Because at the end of the day, when you're getting phone calls 10, 11 at night for stupid stuff that could be handled in the morning, they don't care, because the job, they are a soldier 24/7. It comes first.
Yeah.
So when you arrive at different locations, you have your little award ceremony, and all the top dogs shake the spouse's hand, and you get flowers. Thank you so much for your service. We appreciate all the things that you do.
To the spouses.
Then crickets.
Yeah.
They don't help you get a job.
Yeah.
They don't do nothing. You can join these little cliquey groups. I call them the gossip groups that some of the spouses join in support of the whatever.
Wow.
It's so big. It's really.
That's why you're trying to get out of it, or you can't wait to be done with that life. So you mentioned at the beginning that a lot of Army personnel were highly promiscuous, a lot of infidelity. Has anyone ever tested your marriage in that regards, in terms of like infidelity or things like that?
During the dating phase,
yeah,
more so. He hasn't been deployed since that time frame. So fortunately, he's had really great positions. So he hasn't. And then when he's done with work, he comes home.
Got it.
And we communicate very well.
That's
so
good. That's good.
No, not so much for us, but for people I do speak with or know. Yeah, you're aware of what's going on. I have the benefit because I have people that when I was active duty are still in.
Little snitches, they call them.
No, it's not a snitch because you're in the clique. You're in the group.
I got you. Yeah. I got you.
But these females, this is the mindset. And unfortunately, it's not fat shaming. It's just a reality of what occurs.
Okay.
These spouses are so depressed because they're alone for however long.
Yeah.
And they don't have jobs. I know so many that give up on themselves.
Oh, wow.
They just gain tons of weight.
Really?
They don't have hobbies and they lose interest and I cannot. Yeah. And that's another reason why I don't integrate or communicate with these women because they're so lost of hope.
Oh, wow.
And I cannot fall into that mindset.
Right.
Of I'm just going to ask my husband for some money allowance. I'm just, I don't get nice clothes or I don't go to the gym because why?
Yeah.
You see most military men with really
what?
big olds.
Real? So you're saying military wives on base are typically overweight because they lose focus on themselves after
you
really?
Who's that guy that be talking on the basketball with Shaq, that group, the four of them?
Charles Barkley?
Always talking about, yes, he's always talking about San Antonio women.
What? What is he saying? You mean, what is Charles Barkley saying about San Antonio women?
About how big they are and
I've never heard him say that.
None of the NBA players want to go to San Antonio because they all look like,
Big Bertha?
No, at least Big Bertha got a shape. We're talking about.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, I had no idea that was a thing, but thank you for letting me know. I've never been to San Antonio. I've been to Texas maybe twice in my life. I've been to Dallas on a business trip and I've been to Houston for a party trip.
Okay. Them different.
Them's different deal.
Them different right there. Yeah.
So
ain't nothing he said was a lie about San Antonio.
All right. Note to self. I'm going to Google that later. Yeah, that's interesting for that kind of thing to test your relationship. And that dynamic seems like it could be very stressful for a lot of women. And the fact that you don't fall into that seems like quite the effort to make sure you separate yourself. Am I right?
Have to. I cannot.
So what about?
I cannot. Mm-mm.
So what about the wives who aren't on base? They're back in the United States.
They're still at. Look, I wrote down the numbers. 40% are stay-at-home moms.
Okay.
31% work part-time. 19%
work part-time. You said, right? And 19% what?
Are full-time.
But what about their actual mindset, their mentality, their level of, let's say, mental health? How is that? And is it horrible? Is it average? Is it what is it?
It's they don't care anymore.
Meaning what?
They just are there. It's a sad state of affairs. You ask them, well, what are you doing? They watching TV all day, don't clean, don't cook. It's so bad. My daughter comes home. So I will work a full-time job and still have the house clean, and I would still cook dinner.
Right.
My daughter comes home, she's in middle school, and she says how her friends, their moms do not even do cook or clean. So you don't have a job, you don't cook, you don't clean, you just there.
Okay.
So this factors into them stepping out, being explorative.
No.
Not so much the spouses. I'm talking about the soldiers. You see how it comes together?
I understand the soldiers, but what about the wives who stay at home back in the United States while their like spouses are deployed? The ones who stay home, do they ever like cheat? Is it regular that they do?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. They get busy. Yes. If they're a lot of them, if their spouses, so the spouses they're deployed, they're doing their business. A lot of the spouses that are home will scratch and sniff you.
So what about? Okay, I'm going to give you a scenario. You tell me if this has ever happened. What if someone had a spouse that was deployed in the Army, and then the spouse who stayed home is also friends with, I guess, one of the Army personnel's, friends or whatever, who's back at home, whether they return from active duty at home or there was a friend that was still near the wife that the wife cheated with, but was cheated with, I guess.
So you're saying like,
has a military wife ever cheated on her husband who's at war with the husband's friend or colleague back home?
I'm sure.
Oh.
I'm sure. Yes, definitely.
But you don't know any examples. You're just certain that stuff like that happens.
I'm trying to think. I've heard of something, but personally, I don't hang around them kind of females. Because I got my friend's gonna be acting right.
So what about and lastly, you mentioned a lot of promiscuity in the Army. Has anyone ever gotten accidentally pregnant in the Army because of the promiscuity? Is that a lot?
Yes.
That happens a lot?
Yes. Oh yeah.
What? So are we losing women to like pregnancy in the Army?
A few do stay in. A few will have children to get out.
Oh, purposefully?
Yeah.
They're like, put a baby in me so I can leave this base. And do the men?
I've known women who are gay who will get knocked up to get out
of the Army.
Mm.
That is the most outrageous thing. And you can't even prove if that's what they were doing purposefully or not. You're just like, they're having a kid, so they get the right to leave. So what happens to the men?
Men, if their wife, or what do you mean? What kind of scenario?
If the men get someone pregnant and they say, I want to leave so I can take care of my kid.
Oh no, you staying in. You gonna pay that money though. Wow. There's a lot of scenarios where the man, he could be married or not. And that woman lets his bosses know that she got pregnant, has a baby. If he's not paying for that baby, they're going to take that money. Best believe it.
Really?
That's a serious issue. Yes.
That is tragic in so many ways. Like the idea that, the infidelity part, by itself, okay, that happens. I get it. But people who are purposefully getting pregnant in order to leave the Army, but are you also saying that people are also getting pregnant to collect money from men in the Army?
Well, some women, yes. Like if you are overseas If you are overseas,
Okay.
I don't remember the name that they call it for different areas, but they seek those soldiers to get pregnant so they can get that paycheck. It is a known
Like
fact.
the locals?
Oh, them girls, they smell a uniform.
Oh, wow. Wow. So a lot of men have
Yeah.
gotten caught up getting women who are local pregnant and had to
Yeah.
pay like a lot of money to them or just got, wow.
They'll wife them up or they will have to pay them money.
This is so stressful.
It's slappy. It can get slappy.
It's slappy, she said. It's slappy. We've dug into so many things. I feel like we could go for hours, right? I want to get into a segment of the show where, you're talking a lot about relationships, particularly in your world of being in the military. So I want to take this time to have you answer one of the questions that came from previous guests of the show or a listener of the show. And I want you to answer it to the best of your knowledge, given your experience, and you can apply your scenario to the answer if you can. Okay?
Okay.
You ready?
How do you define a healthy relationship?
Communication. A healthy relationship involves allowing the other person to be themselves, to adapt with change.
Okay.
The same person that you first dated will not be the same person in 5 years, in 10 years.
Oh.
You are always changing and adjusting the way that you're viewing things, that you're experiencing things, your other relationships with work and people and different interactions. So you have to be open and have that communication and allow that freedom of change and adaptivity on both sides.
Wow. You're like a whole Casanova over here with the words. No, that's real. I think communication is definitely a big deal. I mean, I've always advocated for communication. Why do you think, or do you think that is something that is lacking a lot in your community, in the Army? And do you feel it's lacking in general?
The military community is about 9-10% of the American population. So we don't get a lot of, in the news, you will see that they say that there's all this care and love and support. No, in real daily interaction, they have to get their job done. They are so busy.
Yeah.
They don't have time to really have a community like that.
Yeah.
And then even so, when the soldier comes home, do they even want to spend more time with the people that they have to spend so much time with?
Yeah.
So you want that separation too. So there's so many different variables occurring within the community that, for one, because of political reasons, is not honestly communicated with. And that's a part of why I said yes to doing this. Because from my experiences, from speaking with other military spouses that are not heard and that are forgotten, there isn't that honesty, and that the vulnerability of what is occurring is not spoken about.
So you're saying people in the military don't have room to show any form of vulnerability, which is affecting, I guess, their ability to have healthy interactions with people?
Yeah. And you can see that from the veteran side, right? When they get out the military.
Yeah.
The mindset of all the experiences that you're trained for, this small time frame. It's really 20 or less years.
Yeah.
But you are structured, you are disciplined, you are told to not speak, to not smile, to not do this, to wake up at this time, and blah, da, 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 da. Then you get out and you are bombarded with all this other freedom thinking that, you have, I speak to other people and they're like, you have to wear a mask? What? How dare they? But to us, we don't have that choice. We have to wear a mask. You don't question it. You do what you're told. You shut up. That's it.
Yeah.
So even though it's such a small population, even though it's such a small time frame of one's lifespan, it's so ingrained that the hardship of leaving that is hard. And so what do you get? You get the old people with the little hats, with their service, and they just love, thank you for your service and all that, yada, yada. But they spend hours at the VA community trying to fix the puzzle pieces in their mind that have been misconstrued and in a way brainwashed for all those years to act a certain way, to dress a certain way, to lose that individualism, right? That's what it is at the end of the day. You don't have your individualism for years. And then you can see that, like, recently, in January 7th, who was the majority of the people storming the Capitol? Because in their mind, they were fighting for this. It has to be this way. We cannot afford change. We cannot have a different mindset, and especially conservative too, right? And so because this man said that it is so, and we're going to do everything we can. And then they feel invigorated because in their mind, they're once again a part of something, a conglomerate to fight for their freedoms.
Wow.
Even though their freedom is still in this little box. And it's not so free, but it's that sense of that discipline or that blanket that they are requiring.
That's crazy. And that makes sense. So you're saying a lot of the people who stormed the Capitol were, I guess, military veterans or active military people who was of the mindset of fulfilling duty. And because of that being ingrained in them, they had tunnel vision and pursued this task, even though it didn't really make any sense from a tactical point of view. Like, you're not really solving any real problems. You're just kind of like following this mindset from particular leadership that might have influenced them to do so. Wow. But if you leave the Army yourself, what are some things that you feel is going to be hard for you to adjust to personally?
The lack of, although you have more diversity outside of the so look at the population of the military. It's majority of a white race. Then you have your African-American race. They are trying to market to get more Hispanic and African-American races into the military. It is a study. But the majority of it is white.
Okay.
So when you exit the military, if you go into a population that is predominantly like where we're going, white or black, with sprinkles of hybrid races like myself, or a little bit of Hispanic, a little tiny bit of Asian. So in that factor, you're going back to other experiences where they don't understand that a Black person can speak a little bit more educated instead of having more twang in their pitch, their speech. So that is the thing that I'm concerned about with my kids, because they haven't been brought up in the scenario of their own race. They've been brought up around, I want to say more mixture, but not so much, because it is more white.
I'm kind of concerned for them in the sense of like their ability to develop long lasting relationships if they're so used to moving around so much.
Well, their age group, they should be fine. If they were in a high school age, I would foresee that issue. But I have 2 in elementary, and then 1 she'll be in 7th grade. So she's looking forward to having a lasting relationship. Like, she yearns for a friend that she can just walk down the street and kick it and grow old with. Like, you know, you and all the guys, you guys still hang out together. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
And you have that bond. And so that's the kind of thing that we wish for our children, to have that sense of family or community. Yeah. Right?
I got you. That makes sense. I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
Give me a couple questions you want the next guest to answer.
Oh, so in regards to race, I am curious, because I am seeing that there are a lot of intercultural relationships populating recently. How does that affect? Because we're still, at the end of the day, have different cultures and different mindsets of how things should be. How are these relationships behind the doors interacting? Are they favoring more to one race's mindset versus the other? Or how are you raising the children in those kind of relationships? So I'm curious about that.
Okay.
So, what other stuff? What about a man? So we've discussed, like, the man is the sole provider and then the woman sits back. But what if it's reverse? Are the men treated lesser than or viewed lesser than if they choose to be the house husband? So I'm curious about that.
And is that the scenario you think you're going to enter into?
For a while.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm looking forward to that, because the kids will be in activities. So I want to be more engaged in my position so I can move up. So we're kind of switching, right?
Yeah.
Where I've supported him moving up. So now it's my turn. And so I do want him to chill and breathe and take a breather and, you know, do stuff with the kids. So that'll be the start. But at the same time, he's still getting his money because of retirement, the VA, all that. So he's not a bum.
Right.
Well, I'm asking if the man becomes the bum.
So you're saying women who stay home are bums?
No.
So you said if he becomes the bum. So if he's not becoming the bum, who's the alternative bum? What are you talking about? Like, you can't just switch it. No, I see what you're doing here. You can't have it both ways. You know what I'm saying? Like, when he's staying home, he's the bum. That's wild to me. But okay, I see what you're playing. I'll play a game.
You see what and that's my question. Do other people consider the man, if they don't have no income coming in, are they viewed as the bum? Like, what you doing with your life? Go do something. You know what
I mean? Okay, so what's another question you have?
This is an interesting one. If you grew up with a parent that was on abusive nature, what is the healthier choice? Is it to completely eradicate the communication with that person?
Got it.
For your state of mind as an adult? Or is it healthier for your state of mind as an adult to forgive them and be better? So that's my other question.
That's a good one.
What people consider. Because I've heard different scenarios where it can be another form of abuse to completely ignore someone.
Oh, wow.
Right? The silent treatment.
Wow. Yeah, those are deep ones. Yeah, that's really good. That's really good. I'm definitely going to make use of those questions. Give everybody an idea of like where they can find you, as well as what final message you have for people in the military, as well as people's views of the military who are outside the military.
My biggest thing, if you have family members in the military, check up on them, check up on their mental health. If they are a military spouse, they really, really need that communication. They don't need to be judged or try to understand the things that they're going through, because at the end of the day, if you don't experience those struggles, you will have no idea. And the worst thing you can possibly tell someone in the military, whether they're active or a spouse, is to just suck it up. And you chose that life. No, you don't know truly what you're getting into.
Right.
But when you're going through it, the support, the care is so needed. So needed.
Yeah. That's beautiful. I think that's real. And I say that to, I have like my best friend, Kevin, he's been in, he's been a fireman for a lot of his life. Now he's, a captain, not a captain, he's one of the chiefs. And, I was always concerned about his mental health, and I spoke to him about it. And, that's another part of it too. Like police officers, firemen, and people who's in duty who are seeing trauma, like nurses, other medical professionals who are dealing with like trauma all the time. Like a lot of those people deal with things. And I know sometimes the media kind of like shapes your perspective on different individuals who are in service in some way, shape or form. But if you have individuals who, like you said, it's good to check up on them, because you never know what kind of things they've witnessed, experienced, or had to deal with or cope with without any support. So that's a big thing. I appreciate that. What's the best way people can reach out to you or find you? Social media? You got anything you want to share?
So I kind of went off of social media and into a reclusive state.
Okay.
Because of all the racial interaction. And I kind of lost a lot of faith in people or trust in people. So the ones that I do have access, like you or, people that I do know their personalities and what they stand for and things like that, I do let them in.
Got it.
I professional sector open, so you can find me like on GitHub, TGLA84, or on my LinkedIn, and that's about it.
But Instagram, not so much.
Yeah, I have it closed just because I'm not so trusting anymore with people.
Fair enough. I respect it. As far as me, though, my name is Jeff Damisse. You can find me at j.damisse for Twitter, or j_damisse. Actually, no, j.dam. Jesus, I don't even know my own thing. You can find me at j.damisse for IG, j_damisse for Twitter. It's Introspect _Club for IG. And everything else, including YouTube, Twitter, Patreon, and so on and so forth, Clubhouse, all of that. If you guys have any questions that you want answered on the show, please reach out to me and I will get those questions answered like we did today. Please make sure you guys follow, subscribe, support us so that way we can continue to give you content. Leave comments, rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. It really helps the algorithm. So if you want this to blow, if you want to have more of this content, share with a friend, share with a friend, share with a friend. And if you are an individual that has a unique story similar to my guest today, make sure you reach out to me. I might be able to get you on the show if you have a unique or interesting story or lifestyle that other people can benefit from or learn from. Mika, my love, this was a phenomenal conversation. Thoroughly enjoyed it. And I think a lot of people are going to learn a lot from it. I know I did, for sure. I felt like I was in school.
What?
I was just like, what? Hold on. No, this was great. You're a phenomenal guest. I appreciate it. Okay?
Thank you.
Until next
for
time.
having me on.
Goodbye.